She told me she was so sorry and she would do anything to make things right, that she had never meant to hurt me. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Ara Zone Stories. Today we have a story where this wife seems sociopath and she was having an affair with multiple men. Husband filed for divorce and cut her out of his life. Let's see how this story ends. I married my best friend last year. We've been together for 8 years and it's been the most amazing and fulfilling relationship I've ever had. We had the perfect life. We have the cutest little puppy, and she's the most loyal and loving little creature I've ever met. We've been saving for a house in our dream city, and we were just about ready to pull the trigger this year. We were planning to adopt afterwards. We finally paid off all our student loans. We have amazing friends and hobbies that we're both passionate about. We did everything together, dates multiple times a week, every weekend for sure, and usually a few during the week as well, road trips and vacations and events. We stayed up late every night cuddling and talking about our future together. We have a million little inside jokes, and we sent flirty texts to each other all day. We had an amazing life, every one of our fantasies, every day, often multiple times a day. We made it through graduate school, and the pandemic and all sorts of other tumultuous life events together. I work from home, and I took care of all the house chores so she didn't have to. I took care of the dog. I did the training and the walking and the feeding so that she wouldn't have that extra stress. I make 4 times her salary so that she can work her dream job, which doesn't, by itself, make enough to pay rent etc. since we're in New York City. I've never complained about any of this, and being able to do all these things for her always made me so proud and happy so that she could fulfill her own professional dreams. And she still cheated on me. She cheated with a coworker she's only known for a few months, who is way younger than her and who is her subordinate at work. I told her I would be willing to work through it in therapy together, that I could forgive her because our life was so amazing. And she told me she was so sorry and she would do anything to make things right, that she had never meant to hurt me. But I found out last week that she is still cheating on me with him. And when I confronted her, she became unrecognizable. She was verbally abusive and yelled at me and told me that she had never loved me or our puppy. She told me that she had just been using me all along, and now that she'd found someone else, she didn't need me anymore, and that she didn't feel any remorse or guilt, and had only pretended to apologize when she got caught the first time, so that she could keep using me for money. I should be angry, but I just feel so sorry for her. I'm still going to have an amazing life. I took our dog, my dog now I guess, and moved out. I'm still going to be buying that house alone now. All my friends, also our friends, and even her friends have been so supportive. Even her family has been so supportive of me. She's losing a lot of friends. She's losing me, her best friend, at the very least. She might lose her job. She can't afford rent where she's living either way. She always liked expensive shows and clothes and hobbies and going out to eat, and now she can't have any of that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But she doesn't return my calls anymore, so I guess this is it. I'll never understand what happened or why she gave up on our life together out of nowhere like this. It's not going to matter much right now, but you'll probably realize your wife cheating on you had probably little to nothing to do with you. That will make you angry and hurt for a while, but then it'll also make you feel better hopefully. The reasons she cheated and ran around on you are her reasons. The problem behavior here to zone in on is the sneaking around and lying. That's the real flag. I feel for you. I had a 5-year relationship blow up on me after my ex cheated on me with someone I thought was a good friend. We tried to work through it, but we couldn't do it. I've realized the main reason things would never work out was because she couldn't trust me to trust her. She thought and really felt, despite my willingness to try and work through it, that I'd ultimately leave her for what she did. The cheating as the physical act between her and my friend did not bother me as much as the lying, gaslighting, and erratic behavior that led up to me finding out what she did. She ultimately couldn't forgive herself, and that's why we could never mend the relationship. So, if you decide to try and work through it, be wary of that. If she can't forgive herself, it won't matter if you can forgive her. That guilt and shame will eat her alive. As for you, you have to find it out your own way. My advice would be to move on. If it was a one-night stand or drunken mistake, that'd be one thing, but the sneaking around and lying is the flag. People who are willing to consistently lie, cheat, and steal from their spouses cannot be trusted. It's that pattern of behavior that is unforgivable. not the cheating act. I was completely overwhelmed by the response to my original post, and was so busy dealing with the fallout of my soon-to-be ex-wife's affair to respond to everyone's messages. So a quick apology to anyone's message I didn't respond to. I've never gotten hundreds of messages before on any platform, but I did see them and they did help me feel less crazy, so thank you everyone. As many of you predicted, she tried to come back. Multiple times in fact. The last 2 months have been insane in a lot of ways for me. I encouraged her to see a therapist, and she was diagnosed with a personality disorder. She didn't tell me the specifics, but my own therapist suspects borderline personality disorder for what it's worth. I still love and care about her so much that every time she called me sobbing telling me she hadn't meant it, and would do anything to make things right again, I fell for it and told her I would help any way I could. In retrospect, it was so bizarre and entrancing, seeing these glimpses of the person I used to know, reaching back out to me in such obvious pain. And so every time she told me, stone-faced, a few days after apologizing, that she hadn't meant the apology, and had only said it to manipulate me, and had faked the tears, it hurt so much more, having just seen these glimpses of the wonderful person I knew for 8 years. I got so lost in trying to help her during these isolated moments of normalcy, that I lost track of how many times she abruptly switched her entire attitude towards me. It was only recently that I went back and counted. 15 times that she switched between telling me that she loves me and had learned from her mistake and couldn't wait to hold me again, and telling me that she had no regrets, had never loved me, and that she had only ever been manipulating me. At one point, during one of her days of normalcy, she told me that, when she thought back on how she had treated me, she felt like she had been kidnapped by aliens and replaced with a body double, like she had been watching an evil version of herself destroy my life, while she watched helpless from space. And then when I called her a few days later, and she started yelling at me for not being good enough, and telling me that she was busy with her affair partner, who she had sworn she was done with just 2 days before, I reminded her of her alien story. She told me that she didn't remember telling me that she would never say something so dumb, but if she had, it would have only been to manipulate me. I've never been a victim of abuse before this, so it took me a lot longer than I'd like to admit to realize what she was doing to me. I always thought when I saw other people being treated so poorly, wow, I would never let that happen to me. But when I was actually in that situation, all I could think of was how I could help her. I always try to see the best in people, and as far as I know, this is the first time someone who is close enough to me to know that has purposefully taken advantage of it to keep hurting me with no intention of stopping. It still feels so strange, like I hallucinated the last 8 years of my life. But I filed for divorce this week. I didn't respond to her last call. I know exactly how it would have gone. The apologies, swearing she would make things better, that she loves me so much. And then a few days later, the shouting and the abuse and telling me that I wasn't good enough for her, and that she had never loved me. Edit. Also a quick edit for all the kind people wondering how I'm doing personally. I've been having a blast going on adventures with my dog. My friends have all been taking turns reaching out every day. My family has been amazingly supportive. My manager told me to take a month off work to sort myself out, and it was super refreshing. Being back at work afterwards has been great. My coworkers have been hyping me up and checking in with me at lunch. I was able to get back to some old hobbies I'd dropped because of the pandemic, and made some new friends there. It's been good. I'm good. I don't think she has borderline personality disorder. I think she's a sociopath. Seems like she can fake emotions to manipulate others to get what she wants. He tried to help because he actually has empathy. He must stay far away. He is so lovely and deserved to have that wonderful life with someone real. I don't think this is borderline personality disorder. I think she's a full-on psychopath, and I mean that in the clinical sense. I mean on the other post you're saying that she's basically going to lose her job, as she won't be able to afford rent. One of the hallmarks of being a psychopath is the inability to see the consequences of your behavior, like you'd completely fail to see that anything won't go exactly how you planned them to go. Probably also why she thinks telling you she manipulated you repeatedly will also work out fine for her. I'd also doubt that this will have been the first time she's cheated on you, given another symptom is hyperpromiscuity. Again, it's also linked to impulse control. If it's good for them at the time, then they'll just do it, with no regard to the consequences. I dated someone once who I believe was a psychopath, was with her for all of 8 months. And in that time, I know for a fact that she had one long-running affair, if you can call it that after such a short time lull, and slept with one other dude. I also strongly suspect she did bedroom activity at least 6 more guys, but couldn't prove it. And I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't more, as I traveled a lot for work when seeing her. Now the weirdest thing about this, and how it relates to your story, was that when I was with her she seemed like the perfect woman. Like she was literally made for me. But here's the thing, it was all an absolute lie. She basically presented a fake version of herself to me that she thought would be the most appealing. Or realistically, there is no authentic her, just what she presented to others. It was basically for the same reasons. Like you, I was in the middle of buying a house for us, and she was applying to do a master's I was going to be paying for. I strongly suspect that if her cheating hadn't come out, she was having bedroom activity with her best friend's boyfriend as her main affair, and she ended up telling me about it. Actually got with her after this, and we've been together ever since, so silver linings and all that lol, that she'd have continued to milk me for all I was worth whilst carrying on like she was, at least until someone richer turned up, she'd have gone off with them. Honestly mate, you've dodged a bullet. I know I wasted way less of my life with this woman than you did with yours, but if you'd have stayed together after this, I really believe your life would have been a living disaster, so you're best off out of it. Good luck with it all though. When my friend first got together with her ex-husband, she was in a serious relationship with her then boyfriend, and he was married with kids. Long story short, they both left their relationship and had a shotgun wedding. 3 kids later, he left her to move to another state. Surprise. The ex-boyfriend she cheated on is now married, and guess what? One day she saw him online, so she texted to me and said maybe it's a sign from the universe that she should talk to him. She asked me if he is happy in his marriage. I told her he seems happy, and she should stay away. Apparently, she wasn't happy with my answer, so she asked my husband the same question. Again, my husband told her the ex is very happy. Recently, she has been bombarding my husband with random messages of spirituality. She got into it during her divorce. She would send him paragraphs and paragraphs of random thoughts, even though sometimes he would go on days without replying her. When he does, it would be a simple, "I'm busy with kids," or even a swear word. And then she would go on again. She somehow figured out my husband's birthday and asked why we never celebrated that. It's private, my husband never celebrates it with friends, and texted him to question him on what he has against weddings, and then gave him reasons why weddings are great. We had a small wedding, and she wasn't invited, so maybe she thinks that we didn't have one. My husband did not respond to that question. One day, she texted me to see how I am doing in my marriage. I told her it's not as romantic as before, which is fine because we are focusing on the kids. Then, she mentioned how she is fine by herself, and said I can find someone else romantic too. I tried to dismiss it like it was a ridiculous joke, but she just wouldn't drop it. The next day, she tried to bring it up again. My husband and I were going to move, and she asked me if that's what I wanted. I could sense that she was trying to make me doubt my husband again. Unluckily for her, that was actually my idea. In the days that followed, she sensed something was wrong, and even tried to explain herself, and how it is not in her place to suggest I leave my husband. She said how she was actually talking to a guy, and explicitly say that it was not my husband, as if that would exonerate her, a known two-timer. Then she said she would not bother my husband again. But then she didn't stop. She is now sending my husband paragraphs and paragraphs of thoughts again like before. My husband responds to her sometimes because he thinks that she needs someone to talk to. They also sometimes exchange investment ideas because it's their common interest. He is worried about her mental state and that if no one talks to her she would harm herself. My husband knew my friend long before we were together, so I didn't mind their independent friendship, but I suspect now that she is pursuing something more. Thank you for all those who replied. At first I thought I was paranoid for thinking that my friend is out of line. However, not one single person says that it is platonic, or that she is going through a divorce, so cut her some slack. The answer was so simple, we needed to cut her out of our lives. I confronted her yesterday, and she dared to reply back, and said how those spiritual messages were supposed to help my husband treat me better. She made it sound like she had no one to talk to besides him, while there were at least 10 other women from our group including me. I told her that she needs to see a therapist, and he is not her therapist, and she said she will talk to herself, and she can be her own therapist. I have had enough and sent her one final message. You need to understand that there are boundaries with married men and your past behavior indicated otherwise. Let me be clear, there is no place for you in my marriage. I thought it was good enough to keep her at arm's length, but my sisters told me no after reading this post. Both my husband and I were so blind. My husband has very low opinion of her, and she is no threat to my marriage. However, she can still drive us apart. I am a working mom and have no time to monitor the situation, so we both blocked her. It's over and I am so relieved. She doesn't need friends like her. She behaved this way in the past with others. She should keep her other friends and socialize in smaller groups. You must block her and have her husband block her.